Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If you happen to be in Paris like me, I am Kimberly Rose Pendleton, and I'm coming to you live from Paris. Just wanting to check in with my daily intimacy lesson. So one of the things that I've been actually getting asked a lot about, so much that I think I'm going to turn it into an entire training at some point, but for right now it's just going to be a little live, is the relationship between luxury and beauty and pleasure, all the things that Paris is totally all about, and our healing, especially sexual healing, especially like around heartbreak or harm or trauma, or just like a lot of the things that I work with people on, high-powered leaders and coaches in particular, who really want to unpack the ways that sexual trauma and different kind of relationship things have come in the way of them really fully stepping into their power, or at least knowing that there's probably like another level available, like on the other side. And it's maybe something that feels a little bit unrelated, or, like these aren't things that go together. Healing is over here, and like beauty and adventure and luxury and like traveling is over here, and almost like a more frivolous camp, which I totally understand. And I definitely would have said that before I started down this road, and before I started doing this work. I would have said like healing and healing from trauma, talking about sexuality and reclaiming your body and all of that stuff is like the good stuff, that's deep and important, and everybody needs that. And then there's like, oh, you want to go to Paris and there's fancy perfume, and you want to retreat in Italy and you want to buy this pretty dress. Like, that's over here, and it's not as good. It's maybe even dangerous, And when I talk about your desires and what you want and what you're hungry for and what you take delight in, there's a lot in that category that is like a little bit scary, especially for women who come to me from a background, either from religion or from work or from a family where it was really, really kind of focused on that if you were doing good work in the world, if you were smart, if you were good, if you cared about other people, you were not materialistic, you were not obsessed with stuff, you were not in it for the money, like any of that. So I'll have clients, and I completely recognize this from my own life, come to me with this kind of guilt around what they want. But in its most simple terms, they're not on the opposite ends of the spectrum where like one thing is important and one thing is not important. It's actually all on the spectrum of pleasure and all on the spectrum of you feeling good. And so, of course, the deep, important healing work around you feeling safe, around you getting to have the kind of sex that you want and intimacy, kind of reclaiming your body after any kind of trauma. Like, of course, that's all deep and important work. And it's all about you feeling better and you feeling good. You feeling good in your body, you feeling good in your life. Pleasure and desire, whether that's like you want to have this croissant or you want to buy these flowers or you want to go on this trip, is also about your desire and also about you feeling good. And it's not to say that I want you to think of everything as completely the same. I still think it's helpful and important to have a whole spectrum and to let yourself kind of like experiment with which pieces feel right for you in each moment. But it is to say that the part of you that like is maybe even looking at my trip, or this came up with a client around luggage. She really wants this like really cute suitcase, and there's that voice in her head of like, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to want that. This is silly, you know, and we all have it for different things. Like, you probably have something in your life that you want that you feel guilty about wanting. And I'm not going to say that I think that that is the exact same thing as healing our trauma, but I am going to say that luxury and pleasure and desire and the things that light you up and make you feel good are a stepping stone toward knowing more and more each day, and on a deeper and deeper level, what is going to make you feel good in general. And you and tending to you and making yourself happy is the number one thing you can do for your partner. It's the number one thing you can do for your friends and your family. If you're a coach or a business provider, it's the best thing you can do for your business because you are the one. You're the secret sauce. You're the golden goose. Like, if you make the person happy who's in charge of creating the ideas and welcoming people into the container and making the sales and showing up for their clients, you know, you being there filled up and like absolutely in your pleasure is such a different experience. So, I mean, not from a tax perspective. I am not an accountant. Don't quote me on that. But from an energetic perspective, anything you do that brings you pleasure is a business expense because you are the business. And if you don't have a business or like that doesn't relate, I would actually encourage you to go ahead and imagine your relationships as that. You showing up satisfied in your desire, excited, inspired, turned on. That is the same spectrum of work. It's all about you feeling good. This whole thing, this whole life. And from that place, you're going to do a lot to make a lot of other people feel good. You're going to create work that changes the world. You're going to be a better partner and a better parent. You're going to be able to be more creative and make more money. And with that money, you can do even more. But this idea that the way you help the most people is by being the most miserable is actually deeply self-centered. And there's a different way to center the self and have there be this kind of overflow feeling of like, oh my gosh, like I'm in my joy, I'm in my pleasure, I'm doing what I want. And from this place, I have so much to give, both literally and energetically. So